The sky above Vala 6 was always the color of faded ash. Thick clouds drifted slowly, glowing with soft green light that came from the twin moons. The human research base sat quietly on a flat rocky plain, surrounded by sharp cliffs and patches of strange glowing plants that pulsed gently in the wind. Inside the base, Mira stood alone in the lab, sorting samples of soil and plant fibers. She was focused, quiet, and always careful. Unlike the others at the base, she preferred silence. The hum of machines, the low throb of the power lines, and the soft sounds of her own breath were enough for her. Myra had been on Vala 6 for 3 months. The planet was far from Earth, and the research base was small. Only 5 people lived there. Mira didn't mind the isolation. She liked to observe, to learn. But tonight, something felt different. As she finished sorting her samples, she heard something, a soft, steady sound, like slow breathing. At first, she thought it was just the air recycler. But when she paused and held her breath, the sound was still there, calm, deep, and repeating. Inhale, exhale. It didn't come from inside the lab. It came from the old side airlock, a part of the base that hadn't been used in weeks. She walked toward the hallway. The breathing sound grew a little louder. Her footsteps echoed softly on the metal floor. The base lights flickered for a moment, then steadied. She stopped at the door to the old airlock and listened. The breathing continued, slow and even, like someone resting or waiting. Is someone there? She called softly. No reply. Only the breathing. Mira stared at the door. The outer light on the panel showed no pressure change. The door was sealed. No one had gone in or out. She tapped the control screen. All systems were normal. Still, the sound remained. She backed away slowly, unsure what to think. Maybe a pipe leak? Maybe a fault in the audio system? She returned to the lab, trying to ignore the strange feeling growing in her chest. The next morning, during breakfast in the small dining room, she told Liam, the base technician, about the sound. I heard breathing last night, near the old airlock. Liam looked up from his coffee. He was young, cheerful, and often joked too much. Breathing? Maybe it was your own. Mira shook her head. It wasn't me. I was holding my breath, trying to listen. The sound was coming from the hallway. Dr. Elin, the science officer, joined them at the table. He was older, quiet like Mira, and always listening. You think it was something outside? Elin asked. The panel showed nothing. The door was sealed. Could be an air duct problem, Liam said. I'll check the systems. Mira nodded, but she didn't feel convinced. Something about the sound was too steady, too alive. Later that day, Liam went to check the airlock. He opened the side panel near the floor and listened. Nothing here now, he said, looking around. No leaks, no damage. Mira stood nearby, watching. The hallway felt colder than usual. A strange stillness hung in the air. That night, Mira couldn't sleep. She lay in her bunk, staring at the ceiling, listening. The base was quiet. The lights dimmed. The wind outside howled softly against the walls. And then again, it came, the breathing. This time it was slower, more focused. Each breath felt like a whisper, like someone trying to say something without words. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause, again and again. She sat up in her bed, heart beating fast. She turned on her handheld recorder and pointed it toward the hallway. Inhale, exhale. She whispered, trying to match the sound. The breathing continued for another minute, then stopped suddenly, like someone had walked away. The silence that followed felt heavy. In the morning, Mira played the recording back in the lab. She cleaned the sound and ran it through analysis software. The results were strange. The sound had rhythm. The spacing between breaths was almost perfect, like a pattern. Not random, not mechanical. She took the recording to Dr. Elin. He listened twice, then leaned back in his chair. This isn't wind, he said, and it's not air ducts. Then what is it? I don't know yet. But the pauses between breaths. It feels like a message. Liam entered the lab with a tablet. I checked the outside wall near the airlock. Nothing strange except a few scratches near the base. What kind of scratches? Mira asked. Long. Thin. Like claw marks. But too smooth. Could be rock damage or not. The three of them stared at each other. The base had no known life forms nearby. The only local creatures were small insects and plant-based growths. Nothing large. Nothing that could breathe like that. Dr. Elin opened an old file from the bases. Computer. This outpost was built 12 years ago, he said. There was a failed rescue mission after a storm. The logs say one man went missing. They searched for days but never found him. Did they find his suit? Mira asked. No, just static from his comms. Then it all went silent. That night, Mira sat alone in the hallway near the old airlock. She placed a new recorder on the floor and waited. Minutes passed. Then, slowly, the breathing returned. This time, it was closer, clearer, and in between each breath, she could almost hear something more like a voice trying to form, or a thought trying to cross the air. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She just listened. The recorder on the floor blinked slowly, its red light shining in the dark hallway. Mira sat cross-legged, her back resting against the cold metal wall. Her breath was shallow, careful, almost silent. She didn't want to disturb the sound. Breathing was back. Slow, calm, measured. Inhale, pause, exhale. Pause. It didn't come from the air vents or the floor. It felt like it came from everywhere, as if the walls themselves were alive, breathing with a will of their own. Mira listened with her eyes closed, her fingers gently tapping the side of the recorder. The rhythm was strange but not random. There was space between the breaths. A pattern. Maybe a kind of language. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the breathing stopped. The hallway fell into deep silence. She opened her eyes. The lights on the ceiling flickered once, then returned to normal. She stood up slowly, picked up the recorder, and walked to the lab. The next morning, she called a meeting with Dr. Elin and Liam. I have another recording, she said, plugging the device into the computer. This time the breathing was clearer, more focused. Double quotes. Dr. Elin nodded. Play it. They sat quietly as the recording played. The breathing echoed through the speakers. Mira adjusted the sound levels and filtered out the background noise. After a minute, Elin leaned forward. Do you hear that? Between the breaths, there's a pattern. Liam frowned. Pattern? Yes, Mira said. The space between breaths isn't random. I marked the times. She showed them a chart. Each breath and pause had been measured in seconds. There's a repeat every 12 seconds, she explained. Like a signal or a code. Dr. Elin scratched his chin. It reminds me of old radio pulses, Morse code maybe. Not exact, but the idea is similar. Something or someone is trying to say something. Liam leaned back in his chair. That doesn't make sense. We're alone here, no other base. No people within thousands of kilometers. You're saying a breathing sound is talking? Mira looked at him seriously. I don't know what I'm saying. I just know it's not a machine, and it's not nature. Elin turned toward his screen and began typing. We need to compare this with past records. Maybe the base recorded similar events years ago. Do we even have those? Liam asked. There are backup logs from the first teams. Not full reports, but fragments. While Elin worked, Mira and Liam decided to check the old storage room. The room was dark and dusty, filled with sealed containers and old equipment. It hadn't been used in years. Mira found a box labeled Mission Joel 12Y in faded handwriting. She opened it carefully. Inside were several memory chips, a cracked helmet visor, and a torn patch from the spacesuit. The name on the patch, Was simple colon Joel. Liam stepped back. Joel, that's the name Elin mentioned. The missing crew member. Mira nodded. They never found him. They took the box back to the lab. Dr. Elin was still scanning the audio files when they entered. We found this, Mira said, placing the box on the table. Elin looked at the patch and nodded slowly. Joel was the engineer on the second crew. Their mission was to map the nearby cliffs. There was a storm and he got separated. His cums went dead. The others searched for a week but had to leave. Liam opened the cracked helmet. There's dust inside, but no blood. No sign of damage from impact. Mira was silent. Her thoughts were racing. She remembered the breathing, the rhythm, the way it felt close, almost human. What if Joel didn't die? She said softly. Liam looked at her. You think he's still alive? After 12 years? Not exactly alive, she said. Not like us, but something of him might remain. Dr. Elin turned toward her. Are you saying the breathing is Joel? I don't know. But we keep hearing it near the old airlock. Maybe he came back, or maybe he never left. That evening, they worked together in the lab. Elin connected the recording to a pattern recognition program, usually used for plant wave signals. The software studied the breathing rhythm and searched for structure. After an hour, the program stopped and displayed a result. Pattern detected. Repeating cycle. Possible communication format. Elin leaned in. This is real. It's not random. The pauses are intentional. The breathing is acting like a message. Mira looked at the screen. What is it saying? The software translated the timing into simple tones and shapes, using what it could understand. The result was a short sequence that resembled a basic sentence. I hear, I remember, I breathe. No one spoke for a while. The room felt cold, even with the heaters on. The walls, once lifeless, now seemed to hold something else, some kind of memory. Liam stood and walked to the hallway where the breathing had been heard. He looked around, then crouched near the floor. What is it? Mira asked. Scratches, faint, like before. But now there are more, and they form a line. Mira and Elin joined him. On the metal floor, long thin marks stretched toward the airlock door. They were shallow but clear. Something had moved here. Mira looked up at the door. The outer seal light blinked once, then turned green. What's that? Liam asked. It means the outside pressure is safe. Someone used the outer lock. But we didn't open it. They stared at the door. Mira's hand hovered near the control panel but didn't press anything. If this is Joel, or something left of him, he's trying to reach us. Dr. Elin nodded slowly. And we need to listen. Not just with our ears, but with everything we have. That night, Mira listened again to the breathing. She closed her eyes, following the rhythm. Inhale, pause. Exhale, pause. And then, in the quiet space between, she heard a whisper, her name. The morning on Valis 6 was quiet, but the silence no longer felt peaceful. Something had changed. The base still functioned as usual. The lights were steady, the air warm, the machines humming. But to Mira, the air itself seemed to carry a weight as if someone unseen was always present. She walked down the hall with Liam, heading toward the storage unit to check supplies. Dr. Elin had asked them to be alert. With the breathing sound and the strange markings on the floor, no one could explain what was happening. Liam had taken it seriously now. His smile was gone, replaced by careful eyes and quiet steps. As they reached the outer corridor, Liam stopped and pointed at the wall near the airlock. Look, there were more scratch marks. But these were different. Longer, deeper. They ran along the wall and curved toward the ground. Almost like handwriting, though no words were clear. Whatever did this was here recently, Liam said. These weren't here yesterday, Mira nodded. It's trying to tell us something, but we don't understand its way. They continued past the hallway and entered the gear room. There, old suits hung on the wall, some broken, others just unused. Liam walked to the far shelf, looking for a toolkit. That's when Mira saw it. A helmet. Not just any helmet. This one was old, dusty, and cracked near the visor. A faint nameplate was still attached. Joel. Mira stepped closer and picked it up carefully. The helmet was heavy with dust, but inside, it was clean, as if someone had placed it down gently, not lost it in the wild. Liam. Look. He turned and froze. Is that? Yes, it's Joel's. They both stared at it. How did it get here? Liam asked. This wasn't here last week. I've checked this shelf before, Mira said. There was nothing here. Someone brought it back. They brought the helmet to Dr. Elin. He sat down at the lab table, turning the helmet slowly in his hands. This visor is cracked from pressure. Maybe high altitude. But the inside, it's clean, and no blood. He checked the suit logs. Joel's suit was never recovered. Not even a piece. The storm carried him away, or so they thought. What if the storm didn't take him? Mira asked, what if he survived out there? Elin looked up. For 12 years, on this planet? That's impossible. Liam frowned. Maybe not alive in the normal way. But something of him could have remained. Maybe part of him. They were all silent. Mira finally said, last night. I heard him say my name. Liam raised his head. What? It wasn't clear, but between the breaths, I heard a whisper. A voice. It said, Mira. Elin stood and walked to the console. He pulled up the recording and ran it again through the analyzer. The sound played. The breathing was steady, then paused. The software marked the pattern. In the pause, something faint echoed. A whisper. A name. Myra's name. Liam sat down slowly. Okay, this is real. Elin nodded. He's reaching out. But we don't know why. Or what he's become, Myra added. They spent the rest of the day running scans outside the base. They used ground sensors, audio collectors, and a small drone. The drone flew toward the hills where Joel's last location had been logged. 12 years ago. It flew over the rocks, scanning with heat sensors and radar. Nothing showed up at first. Then, Mira saw something on the drone's camera. Stop, she said. Zoom in. There, in the distance, a figure moved slowly across the valley. The body was thin. Its suit was damaged. One arm was missing the outer layer, but it walked slow and steady toward the cliffs. Is that him? Liam whispered. There are no other humans here, Elin said. The drone's audio picked up faint static. Then, breathing. Soft. Even. Almost musical. The drone hovered above the figure. It didn't stop walking. It didn't look up. It just kept moving. Then the camera feed began to shake. The image blurred. The drone shut down and fell. Signal lost. Mira stared at the screen. He didn't want to be seen. Not fully. Elin agreed. He's guiding us. Bit by bit. That night, the breathing returned again. Mira listened from her bed. This time, it wasn't just a sound. It was a message. The rhythm was slower. She recorded it and ran it through the translator software. The software took longer than usual. Then it showed a short message. I live, not whole. Still human. Mira read the words again and again. Her hands shook slightly. She knew it now. Joel had survived. Somehow, some part of him had fused with the planet or something on it. The breathing was not just a signal. It was his voice. And he remembered being human. She looked out the small window toward the cliffs. Somewhere out there, Joel waited. Changed, damaged, maybe even broken. But still trying to speak, trying to be heard, trying to come home. The sky above Valis 6 turned darker than usual. Thick clouds rolled across the horizon, swirling with green and purple light. The research base's warning systems blinked red. A strong electrical storm was coming. Inside the control room, Dr. Elin. "Watch the screen closely. This storm is different," he said. "Faster, heavier, no pattern." Mira stood beside him, staring at the readings. The wind outside had already picked up, shaking the tower slightly. "It's like the planet itself is reacting," she whispered. Liam entered, holding the broken drone from the previous day. No signal left in the memory. Whatever caused it to shut down wiped everything. He placed the drone on the table. "But I saw the figure too. We all did." "Joel is still out there," Elin nodded. "And now this storm begins right after he sent that message." Mira looked at the screen. The last message from Joel still glowed softly on the monitor. "I live. Not whole, still human." They prepared the base for the storm. Shutters closed. Equipment powered down. Outside trips were canceled. Everyone was told to stay inside. But Myra couldn't rest. The breathing hadn't returned since the night before. And the silence was louder than ever. She kept checking the airlock hallway, standing still, listening. But nothing came. No whisper, no rhythm. Only wind and thunder outside. As night fell, the storm hit with full force. Lightning flashed over the mountains. Thunder echoed across the plain. The ground trembled every few minutes, and the power inside the base flickered. Then came the moment Mira had been waiting for. She heard it, the breathing, but this time, it didn't come through the walls. It came through the COM speaker in the control room. She ran there, heart racing. The speaker let out a slow inhale, then an exhale, then again. She recorded it and turned to Elin, who had followed her in. "It's Joel. He's using our COM system now." "But how?" Elin asked. "He's not connected." "He is," Myra said. "Just not through wires." They connected the sound to the computer again. The same pattern. The same rhythm. But this time, there was something else. A short message hidden in the noise. Mira filtered the sound. The translation showed new words. "Help me." Liam stared at the screen. He's asking for help, but from what? Outside, lightning flashed again. The storm raged louder. Suddenly, the alarm light near the airlock started blinking. Mira ran to the panel. The system showed a pressure change. The outer door had been opened. She turned to Liam. "Did someone go out?" "No," he said. "We're all inside." Elin joined them, checking the logs. "This doesn't make sense." The door opened, then shut again. But no one used the control. Mira moved quickly toward the hallway. The airlock door was closed. But something was resting outside it. She approached carefully. It was Joel's helmet. The same one they found earlier. But now, it had been placed gently at the center of the hallway floor. No one had seen who put it there. And there were no footprints. Just the helmet. And silence. Mira picked it up. It was cold. The nameplate still read Joel, but something had been added, scratched into the side in small, careful lines. "Follow the sound." She turned to the others. "He wants us to go. Somewhere." Elin looked concerned. "In this storm?" "He sent the message now for a reason," Mira said. "He can only speak through signals, through air. Maybe the storm helps him. Maybe it makes the connection stronger." Elin agreed to send another drone. They programmed it to follow the signal's direction. The breathing had become slightly louder again, giving them a rough path to follow. The drone lifted into the stormy sky, shaking in the wind. Its camera flickered as it moved across the rocky fields. Then, they saw it again. The same figure. Joel. He was walking again, but slower. His shape was clearer now. His suit looked changed, like parts of it had fused with something crystalline. His steps left no prints. The ground behind him remained untouched. The drone hovered. Joel stopped walking. He turned slightly, facing the camera, but only his head. His face was hidden by the broken visor, but the breathing was now loud through the drone's mic. Inhale, pause, exhale. Then the screen glitched. The drone's power dropped. The video turned to static. But one last signal was captured before the drone went offline. It was a location marker, a small valley near the cliffs, just 2 kilometers from the base. Back in the control room, Mira studied the map. This is where he wants us to go. Elin hesitated. We can't go now. The storm. We wait for it to pass, she said. Then we go. That night Mira couldn't sleep. She sat in the hallway again, near the helmet. She closed her eyes, listening, and there it was. The breathing returned. But now, it wasn't alone. There was music in it. Soft tones. Like a hum. Like the planet itself had joined Joel's voice. It wasn't frightening. It felt peaceful, like a lullaby in the wind. And then she heard words again. Come, listen, understand. By morning, the storm had passed. The sky was clearer. The wind had calmed. The planet looked still again, but Mira knew better. Joel was waiting. The storm was gone, but the world outside still felt strange. The dust had settled. The sky above Valis 6 was pale and quiet. Small flashes of green light still moved across the clouds, but the ground was calm. No more lightning. No more thunder. Inside the research base, Mira, Dr. Elin, and Liam stood in the control room, looking at the map. A red dot blinked slowly on the screen. It marked the last location seen by the drone 2 kilometers away, in a valley surrounded by jagged cliffs. He's leading us there, Mira said softly. Elin nodded. We should go, but carefully. The ground may still be unstable after the storm. Liam checked the equipment. I'll prepare the suits, oxygen packs, scanners, and recorders, just in case. The 3 of them suited up, stepping into the airlock together. The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. Outside, the wind was cool. The path ahead was dry and cracked, but WLKABLE. Myra led the way. The valley was quiet. No animals. No sounds. Only the soft crunch of their boots against the stone. The cliffs rose around them, tall and sharp like giant teeth. Strange plants grew between the rocks, glowing faintly as they passed by. As they reached the marked location, Mira stopped. There, she said. At the edge of the valley, half covered in dust, was a long line of smooth stones arranged in a curve, not natural. Someone had placed them there, one by one. Carefully. Liam knelt down to inspect the stones. These are old, but they've been cleaned recently. They form a shape, Mira said. She walked along the edge, tracing it with her eyes. It's like a wave, a breath. Elin stood in the center of the pattern. He held up his scanner. There's something underground. Not metal, not rock either. It's warm. He tapped the device. It's giving off a low vibration, constant, like a heartbeat. Mira knelt and placed her hand on the ground. It was true. A faint thrum moved through her fingers. A steady, soft rhythm, like breathing. They followed the pulse to a crack in the cliff wall. A narrow cave opened before them, just wide enough to crawl through. Liam frowned. You sure about this? Mira didn't answer. She stepped forward, ducking into the tunnel. Inside, the air was cooler. The walls glowed with soft blue light. Crystals lined the cave, tall, clear, and smooth. They pulsed gently, matching the rhythm of the breathing they had heard for days. This isn't just a cave, Elin said. It's a living structure. The tunnel widened, opening into a round chamber deep within the rock. At the center stood something incredible. A figure. Not fully human, not fully machine. Something in between. It was Joel. His body was thin, his suit torn, but his chest still rose and fell slowly. Parts of him had changed. His arms and shoulders were wrapped in crystal, like armor grown from the cave itself. His helmet was gone, revealing part of his face, pale, tired, but still alive. Mira stepped closer. Joel didn't move. But the air in the chamber changed. Inhale, pause, exhale. Pause, The sound filled the room, clear and deep. Then the crystals on the wall lit up, flashing in a soft pattern. The breathing slowed. A voice came, not through ears, but through feeling, through vibration in the air. I waited. Myra's eyes widened. She turned to Elin and Liam. "Did you hear that?" They both nodded, their faces pale with shock. The voice continued, slow and clear. "I fell. I broke, but the planet healed me." Liam stepped back. "He's connected to this place." Elin whispered, "The storm didn't kill him. The cave saved him. It used the crystals, changed him." Joel's voice continued, still breathing. "Slowly, I tried to return, but I was different. I couldn't speak, not like before, only breath." Mira took a step forward. "We heard you, we listened." Joel's eyes opened, not fully human eyes anymore. One glowed faintly like the crystals. The other still carried the look of the man he once was. "You came, you heard, thank you." Mira stood beside him. "Can we help you leave?" Joel's chest rose slowly. The air in the chamber pulsed. I'm part of this now. I breathe with it. I hear it. It hears me." He looked at the crystals. "It is alive. Not like us, but it remembers. And it listened to you too." Elin moved closer to the wall and touched a crystal. "You mean?" "The planet." Joel's breath slowed. "Not just rock, not just air. The planet holds memory. It holds sound. It speaks through breath, through time." Mira stepped beside the crystal. "So that's how you sent your message?" Joel nodded slowly. "It copied my breath, my thoughts. It used your machines, your air. And now you hear me." Liam looked around. "Why now? Why show us this now?" Joel paused. "Because now." "I am ready," Mira frowned. "Ready for what?" Joel reached out and touched the crystal near him. It pulsed brighter. "To teach you, to show you how to speak as I do." The chamber grew warmer. The crystals glowed. The air felt full not with words, but with energy, with understanding. Joel breathed slowly, and Mira understood that it wasn't just sound. It was emotion, memory, a way of speaking without speaking, a way of sharing truth without pain, a new language, a new path, human. And more. She turned to Elin and Liam. "He doesn't want to leave, but he wants us to learn." Elin nodded. "Then we stay. We listen." Liam smiled, though his eyes were wide, and we breathe. The light inside the cave pulsed like a slow heartbeat. Mira, Dr. Elin, and Liam stood in silence, watching Joel, the once lost engineer, now standing in the middle of the glowing chamber. His body was still mostly human, but pieces of clear crystal covered his arms, back, and chest. It was as if the planet had healed him, shaped him into something new. The crystals around them hummed gently. Their soft blue light flickered with each breath Joel took. Not a single word had been spoken aloud, yet everyone felt something. Understanding, connection, a message that didn't need sound. Joel took a deep breath. The air in the chamber moved with him, like the entire cave was breathing along. When he exhaled, the crystals glowed brighter. The rhythm echoed through the walls, the ground, even their suits. Then the message came. You listened. Mira nodded slowly. We did. The sound wasn't from his mouth, but from the air itself. A vibration that shaped thoughts into meaning. They heard it not through their ears, but through their minds and bodies. Elin stepped closer. How did this happen to you?" Joel turned his head slightly. His face looked calm. "I was lost, injured. The storm threw me here. My suit was torn. I couldn't move. I couldn't call for help." He paused. "The cave found me." Liam blinked. "The cave?" Joel raised his hand. Crystal formed along his fingers, glowing softly. "It is part of the planet. Part of something older, something living." The three visitors looked around. The crystals weren't just decorations, they were sensors, memory holders, perhaps even thoughts themselves. It took care of me. It repaired what it could, not with machines, but with what it had. Mira asked gently, "Did it change your mind?" Joel paused. Then the message came slowly. "No, I am still Joel. My memories, my thoughts are still mine. But now I also feel the planet. It speaks in breath, in rhythm. It is slow, but wise." He looked at them carefully. "And now it wants to speak to you too." The ground shifted slightly beneath them. Not in danger, but as if something deep below had turned to look their way. The air became warmer. The walls glowed in a circle. Joel motioned toward a nearby crystal pillar. It hummed louder as Mira stepped near it. "Touch it," Joel said through the air. She placed her hand on it gently. Suddenly, her breath caught. A rush of thoughts and images moved through her body. Not visions exactly, but feelings. She could sense wind over mountains, fire from old stars, rivers that moved through stone long before humans came. It was peaceful. And it was ancient. She let go, eyes wide. "I felt time," she said quietly. Joel nodded. "This is how it speaks. Not in words, but in moments, in breath, in memory." Elin touched a smaller crystal and gasped softly. "I heard laughter. Not my own, like a memory I never lived." Joel responded. "The cave stores pieces of everything it hears. Every breath, every voice. It remembers them all." Liam walked slowly around the chamber, his fingers brushing the crystal walls. "So, you became part of it?" Joel stood still. "Yes, and it became part of me. I thought I would be alone forever, but I was wrong. It was always listening." Mira took a deep breath. "Why now? Why reach out after so long?" Joel turned toward her. "Because you were the first to stop and truly listen. The machines heard me. But you understood the silence." Mira felt something warm in her chest. All those nights sitting near the airlock, waiting, they had meant something. Joel stepped aside and pointed to a platform of crystal at the center of the chamber. "Sit, breathe, let it learn your rhythm. Then it will remember you too." Cautiously, Mira walked to the platform and sat. The crystal under her shimmered. She closed her eyes and began to breathe deeply. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Pause. She matched the rhythm of the chamber. Soon, she felt her heartbeat slow. Her thoughts grew quiet. And then, something remarkable happened. The chamber responded. The light around her shifted gently with each breath she took. The air grew warmer, like a blanket. She felt seen. Not just her face or voice, but her thoughts, her hopes, her fear. She opened her eyes. The crystal below her glowed bright blue, the color of trust. Elin and Liam watched in awe. She connected. Elin whispered. Joel nodded. Double quotes now. She is part of the memory. The cave no longer felt strange. It felt like home. Mira stood, and the light dimmed to match her calm breath. She looked at Joel, understanding now that he had become a bridge between Earth and this living world. "You're not lost," she said. "You were waiting to be heard." Joel's eyes closed, and for a long moment, only the sound of shared breathing filled the space. Then he spoke again through the air. "Take this with you." He handed Mira a small shard of glowing crystal, smooth and warm to the touch. "This will carry your breath. When you return, it will help others listen too." Mira held it tightly. "What will you do?" she asked. Joel turned toward the far end of the cave, where more tunnels opened into deep glowing paths. "I will stay. I am needed here. This planet is still speaking. And there is much more to hear." They said their quiet goodbyes. No hugs. No handshakes. Just shared breath and soft understanding. As Mira, Elin, and Liam left the cave, the light behind them faded into a calm blue. The wind outside was still. The valley felt peaceful. Mira looked at the crystal in her hand. It pulsed. Once. And then it breathed. The ship hovered gently above the planet's surface. The clouds below were silver and soft, moving like slow rivers of mist. Inside the ship, Mira, Dr. Elin, and Liam sat in silence, staring at the glowing crystal that now rested in a clear container at the center of their research lab. It pulsed softly, like it was breathing. Mira had carried it back from the cave. It still responded to her when she touched it. The crystal held more than light. It held memory, rhythm, a piece of Joel, and a piece of the planet itself. Back on Earth, no one would believe what they had seen. No one had ever spoken with a planet before. Elin leaned forward. It's not just a rock, this is a form of memory. A living library. Liam nodded. But it doesn't just remember sounds. It remembers feelings, emotions. It feels us when we breathe near it. Mira gently touched the surface of the container. The crystal glowed brighter for a moment. Joel said it would carry my breath, that it would help others learn to listen. They returned to Earth after 2 weeks. The mission was marked as a success, though the true discovery was kept quiet. Only a few trusted researchers were allowed to see the crystal and hear their report. Inside a special research room, the crystal was placed in a sealed chamber filled with clean air and soft light. Scientists watched, studied, and waited. Nothing happened. The crystal remained quiet. It didn't glow. It didn't pulse. Some scientists called it a strange mineral with no real value. Others said the planet had confused the crew. Some wanted to cut the crystal open to see what was inside. Mira refused. She stood in front of the crystal one evening, alone in the lab. She turned off the lights. She turned off the machines. And then she did the only thing Joel had taught her. She sat down, she closed her eyes, and she breathed. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. At first, nothing changed. Then slowly the crystal began to glow. A soft blue light, like moonlight on water. It pulsed in time with her breath. A gentle warmth filled the room. She opened her eyes. A single message echoed through the chamber, not in words, but in feeling. You remembered me. The next day, Mira called Elin and Liam. She explained everything. Together, they began to create a new plan, not to study the crystal, but to share it. Not with tests and machines, but with calm and breath. They built a small, quiet room. No screens, no noise. Just the crystal in the center and a place to sit. A place to listen. Visitors came in small groups. At first, nothing happened. But those who sat long enough and simply breathed began to feel something. Calm, memory, connection. They spoke of old dreams, peaceful thoughts, and feelings they could not explain. Some cried. Some smiled. Some sat for hours without saying a word. The crystal remembered every breath. One day, a child named Noel came to visit. He had trouble speaking. He was shy and afraid of loud places. But when he entered the crystal room, he sat quietly and closed his eyes. He began to breathe. Slow and steady. The crystal pulsed gently. After 10 minutes, Noel opened his eyes and said clearly, "It feels like home." That was the first time anyone had heard him speak more than one word. His mother wept. Mira knew then. The breath of the planet was a gift, a way of healing, of remembering, of listening without sound. Over the next year, more crystals were found. On the planet, each one pulsing gently when touched with breath and care. But not everyone could connect with them. Only those who truly listened. Only those who approached with respect. Joel had become the first bridge. Mira, Elin, and Liam became the second. And Earth was beginning to understand, not through words, through silence. And breath. Then one evening, something new happened. The original crystal, Mira's crystal, flashed a bright light and then dimmed to a soft purple glow. A sound filled the room like wind moving through deep caves. And then a new message came. It is time to return. Mira felt her heart jump. Joel was calling. Weeks later, a new mission was launched. Mira, Elin, and Liam returned to the planet. This time, they brought others, scientists, artists, thinkers, people who wanted to listen. The cave was still there, still breathing, still waiting. When they entered, the walls glowed with joy. The air welcomed them back. Joel appeared from the tunnel, his body now completely part of the crystal, yet his face still kind. He smiled without speaking, and they all understood that Joel led them to a new chamber deeper than the first. Inside, a large platform of crystal had formed. At its center, a new tree of light had grown, shaped from memory and time. Mira stepped forward. Joel's voice filled the air. The planet has chosen to share more. Each person sat near the tree and began to breathe. One by one, they felt the presence of something greater than themselves. Old voices, lost dreams, new hopes. The cave stored it all. And now it wanted Earth to do the same. Not with machines, but with listening. With breath. Years later, Earth created the breathing halls, quiet places built across the world where people could sit in peace, breathe, and connect with memory crystals. They weren't worshipped. They weren't feared. They were respected, because through them, people found healing. People remembered each other, and they listened. As for Mira, she returned often to the planet, sometimes to study, sometimes to teach, but mostly just to breathe. In silence. With peace, because in every breath she could still hear him. He spoke to me through his breathing.